Okay, good evening, YouTube. Welcome to the chat. I had to switch over. I'm going to give it a few minutes to put the link out there of where I've changed over. Again, this new, it goes back to, I haven't had a chat since that one I did in January, and I messed up that, and now I'm trying to figure this all out over again. So sorry about that I had to switch it over. So I'm going to give it a few minutes for people to join and come over to this one since I have to cancel the other one and hopefully didn't get too many people committed. But let me share that again where this is at, and hopefully we'll get this started. But I wanted to do, this is going to be an update, our water commission situation. A hearing is tomorrow that has been a process taking place over the last 6 months, and what people are saying about it. Heard some good stuff and some not so good stuff today. It's pretty apparent that it was intended to be a media drop at the last minute. There was a lot of last second announcements today, I guess you'd say. So that's interesting. And let me get this shared. Sorry about that. Get this back out. Thanks for those that shared the other chat, but I don't know if hopefully we'll get them. Not showing any viewers right now, so I guess I'll just talk to myself, or as people watch this in the future, talk to them. But so throughout the week, Tony mentioned it was it Monday when he put it out there that this is media blackout, and it essentially was. And then today is when I actually saw a couple stories about it, and then I heard it on the radio on the way home this evening, which was really encouraging. Some of the stuff I heard, which we'll get into the chat once we get to that. But yeah, there was an paper today, opinion piece that was in the other the Elko Daily News had an opinion, but no official paper piece, like an official report, like, showing both sides or whatever. And then really the media was held out of it. There was, I don't know if they weren't doing the due diligence, because like we said, everybody's involved in the election, or if it was planned, like, hey, we'll give you guys at least a break, and you can break it on the night before. And as you'll hear, everybody's like, I didn't know about it. How can I be there when I didn't know about it to plan ahead? So people are up in arms to a large degree, some degree, and which is good. They should be. There's a couple of people we'll hear from who they should be up in arms. There's a couple people you'll hear that are like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's not that big a deal. They're just limiting the water." Yeah, just limiting the water of a certain few people, which means they can limit it on anybody, I think is the point they don't understand. But there's a couple people that are trying to tamp down the fires, and that it's not that big a deal, which, of course, that's why they didn't put it out more than they did, because they knew it would cause an uproar, because out here, water is life. Like it is most places, but even more so out here, because it doesn't fall from the sky enough to get by on. I sent some links to Tony and Reb, the ones that are most local that'll be affected by it. Let me get a link out to Wild Iron, because he has a direct stake in it as well. Now that I think about it, so I want to kind of start with some people that have a direct skin in the game. I don't even know if Wild Iron's been on. I haven't seen him on G Plus in forever, but we'll give it a shot. There. Thanks for jumping over. If you can, share it out there, and we will kind of get started running down some of the updates. And hopefully my technology challenge self will be able to keep up with this, because I'm going to try to do some things I haven't done before. But while we're waiting for a few more people, remind you of this petition that's out there, encouraging people to share it. It's protecting, basically saying help protect your domestic well and water. Am I sharing the desktop? Let me make sure. Okay, yeah. It's at this location. It's on change.org. We'll put this link out in the external if I can get there from here. And if you need or know somebody else that would like to sign it, please share. Let me figure out how I'm going to get to the external. My technology challenge self. And that's not the way I want to do it. Let me keep you guys from showing that. Let me see here. Goodness. Okay. So I found that, and the chat is underneath. Let me send this. So, goodness, there's two different ways to start a chat on here now, and I'm still confused by it. Let me, the YouTube page version gives you a better, you can chat, you can comment underneath like the old school way. And there's the Hangout version, which I guess if you click on the other link I sent out, doesn't allow chat comments. So I'm going to put out the YouTube one so that this is a goat rope. On up my thing when I'm trying to have a chat. Cut it out, Tony. Just checking, folks, trying to communicate with people on the side. Partisans, looks like you're saying. I can't see the whole comment yet. Oh, Tony's watching. Lower chat sucks. Yeah, okay, I know. Lower chat sucks. Yeah, I hear you. I can't understand how they've got it where if you open it up in Google, or I tried to originally start it on my YouTube monkey way, and you have to have a download or something, and so I kicked over to Google Plus and started a Hangout and over there, and it shows up on the bottom in YouTube. So I'll try to get on it. So, okay, got 9 out there. I'll go ahead and get started on what I was going to get to. So you all ain't bored all night. And I want to try to keep this to an hour-ish. unless somebody comes in. Tony's out of bandwidth or out of internet reception as well. Reb's not been doing hangouts lately, so I don't expect him, but I sent him one. And we'll see what's going on here. But like I was saying, there's been a media blackout on this whole deal, and I got more evidence of that today as they had the article showed up in the Carson paper. I'll try to show here. Whoa. Switch over. And here's the one that showed up today in Carson. You see they dropped it this morning. Talking about the petition affecting domestic wells. Kind of just does a rundown of, talks about the petition that's running for Nye and Silver Springs. And basically to get there, if you have interest. Limiting comments to 3 minutes. I'm sure they expect a lot of comments. But like I said in the other video the other day, it to be a long, be patient, because there are other things on the agenda other than this issue. They kind of summarize the Pahrump Basin, which they say is 20% over allocated its limit. Okay, that doesn't cause an emergency on my part. Can talk about that. I mean, this is what they keep bringing up. These places are over allocated for water. You don't take a right from somebody to give to somebody else just because you screwed up. That's the biggest problem I have, is they're trying to take something from somebody else to give to somebody else. And it's all about growth. It's all about, you know, fairness, I guess you'd say. They talk here a little more about the Nevada Water Commission. So let me put this up there in the external just so I can share this article. So you all are on top of that. I'm going to send, Saints, I'm going to send you a link to internal as well. All right, see if we can get a couple other people in here to join in the fun in the sun. But that continues to be the drumbeat. It's just about over allocation. We got to do something. Maybe we should stop selling water to other states. Why don't you pull the water rights of states that are sucking water out of Nevada? I can think of a lot of solutions before you take away individual rights and property. It's essentially property, and it's recognized in law as property. Why don't we start there? Would be a couple of my arguments to these folks. Saints, I sent you a link. Let's go check it out. So again, the petition here, did I put that in the external? Let me put that in the external. And the biggest thing about the chat links down, the comments down below, is it doesn't update. I don't understand how they screw this all up. And obviously it's me too, because I can't run their system. But there you go. I'll have to refresh here to see the comments as well, to see if feedback we're getting, because I would definitely want to respond to some of that as we go through this. I'm not going to just speak on my own. But it looks like I am. Got 12 of you out there. All right, good to go. Try to keep my bandwidth a little reasonable. So again, some of the references, the Elko Daily Free Press letter that we first caught. It was updated yesterday, I guess, but it came out a couple days ago, because this is when we referred to. Oh wait, That's the buyout. This is another thing I was looking at. I was going to read this. Sorry. But the other letter to the editor that we were tracking the other day, this is a new letter to the editor from the other day that referenced the petition and about the domestic wells. I put that link out there in the chat in the external if you want to go check it out. Talks about some of the restrictions they're proposing. The state water, or the state engineer has requested certain authorities to restrict this water. So you've got to basically a wannabe tyrant wanting to have all this power because he asked for it. It's not like he's graciously declining or anything. He's like, I need this power, essentially, which is most disturbing. Right, Silver. I saw that, that as I was trying to get this all figured out, they said that YouTube Live is going to replace Google Hangouts. So however that's going to work, I'm going to be even more confused. But Jay Watt's out there. All right. What kind of article you get linking to here, Jay Watt? Go check that out. I'm going to go open that up as well. I would imagine it's relevant. Oh, well, that's about Bunny Ranch. Yeah, I've seen that. Jay Watt put in the external. Jerry DeLemus of New Hampshire and Blaine Cooper pleaded guilty to conspiracy charges because the government's always going to win on that one. I guess they just wanted to get out of jail. I'm not sure. That's just a screwed up situation overall. So like I was saying, all was in the news today. And then the big one that came out today was I was riding home and it was on a radio show that I usually listen to. It's basically an economics investor type. He's on the ride home, 5 to 6. He comes on. He got the call shortly before this show came on about it, or an email. He's like, well, we're going to talk about this. So they didn't know about it. He works for the radio station. Their news station didn't know about it. They ginned up an article. So this is a talk radio station here in Reno, and they didn't know about this until like 4 o'clock, I guess, or somewhere around there. So they hadn't even put it out there yet. Media silence was definitely deliberate, like we were talking about. So should make everybody even more suspicious. But what I want to do is I'm going to try to share some of the excerpts of this show to get you some of the people that called in about it. I thought there was some really good input and some really good points of skin in the game for sure. And then those detractors that are trying to say, oh, it's not that big a deal. It's just normal. You know, this is just something that has to be done. You know, you got those people in there as well. So I'm going to share the link to the page where this is on out there in the external. If you want to go check it out yourself afterwards or whatever. It's the John Sanchez radio show, so give them all full credit. Fair use. I'm just going to comment on their comments. I'm not claiming this is my work or anything, but it's going to be the podcast on that link I just put out in the external. And he gets into the well issue at about the 13-minute mark, if you're marking your time. So, Tracy, you asked what county. It's a state law they're trying to get pushed through this subcommittee. The proposal comes from some of the Nye County area, and also Eureka has a Diamond Valley, I believe, is what they're focusing on, but they're trying to make a statewide rule to affect these counties instead of those local counties and those jurisdictions taking care of business. If that sums it up to a certain extent. And you'll hear some of that on this radio comments as well. So let me share this as we get in here, just so. So this is the page. You'll see it as you scroll down, and even it titles it New Well Regulations. So I'm going to have to switch over my mic so you can hear it coming out of the speakers here, because that's the only way I figured I'm going to be able to share this. So give me a minute to switch this over. I'm going to try to do this so I can watch the audio bar at the same time, so I know that the speakers are coming through. All right, having technical difficulties. Hold on with me just a second. All right, give me a second here. I'm trying to. It's stalled on me for some reason. I have to refresh this just a second. That's technology, right? At least for me, I can't work at half the time I need to. Saints, I sent you a link if you want to hop in, or did you not get it? Over on the G Plus. Might be having a hard time playing while I'm streaming this video too. That might have a bandwidth issue. Although I thought like basically down. I guess it doesn't work like that. All right. So I can fast forward here.
KKOH. This is coming right off the website at KKOH.com. My lack of love for that woman. She's a good woman. She really is. She's got a tough job. There's no doubt about that. Mr. Edge, why did you do this to me? I'm getting ready to walk out of the office. I see your email come over at about 4:30 titled Well Owners' Rights Threatened by States. And I want to give kudos to the news department here at KOH. Yeah. This is coming right off the website at KKOH.com. Tell us what is going on for those of us that own a well in the state of Nevada.
Well, let me first say I don't know much about this. I found out about this morning from a friend of mine, and then I had lunch with another friend of mine who brought it up. So in looking at it, we pulled the agenda. That's what I showed you. So they're having a meeting tomorrow from what's called the Legislative Commission Subcommittee to Study Water. It's at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Apparently we have a whole subcommittee that studies this.
Let's give it all out. Legislative Building, room 3138. Carson Street in Carson City.
At 9 a.m.
At 9 a.m.
And from what I understand, and if there's somebody listening that understands this more, please call in. But from reading this over the last couple hours,
Okay, so as you can tell, they were kind of ambushed by the whole thing. I was kind of wanting to get across there that these guys work in the news radio business and they didn't know about this. So Tony's on his game. But I'm gonna fast forward to the 16-minute mark, 16:30, where they get a caller in and they talk about the ranching and how this effect has been building from the past.
Going to cut your production in, and if I remember the number was correctly, it was 50%. Well, all these wealthy ranchers got together, hired some good attorneys, and basically sued the state in the water department or water agency. And said, look, you can't do that. We have legal water rights. So they got in this battle, and to summarize, the state backed down and said, okay, you guys are going to win on this one. I know a few people in the water area, and they said, we're coming back after the ranchers because basically they got egg on their face, to be real blunt. This surprises me, but it doesn't, because I've been thinking about something like this. I didn't think it was going to go as far as the domestic well use. I would have definitely thought it would have been more on the ag side, but maybe this is the way that the water agency can get this handled by saying it encompasses everybody. Right?
Absolutely. And again, my understanding of this is going from the legislature. This will be part of
Sure, we don't know if it's going to pass or anything else, but
this isn't specific to Golden Valley.
No,
or
yeah,
but
it
starts here.
But
it starts here. It starts small.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
They can tell you, and again, read through some of this. There is discussion of, okay, we're only going to meter new wells, and we're only going to do this to new. Well, it's just like a tax.
Right.
Hey, we got it in there. It was just now, 2 years from now, we'll go ahead and we'll do it for 10-year-old wells.
Right.
All this stuff. But, water rights in this state are very contentious.
Yes, they are.
And they're real property.
Yes, they are.
And for the state to come in and start.
And worth great value.
Start changing that.
Yeah, well, that's what got the farmers up in arms.
Huge fight.
Huge. Let's jump to the phone lines.
So, yeah, as you can see there, they were talking about some of the past history. The ranchers took the legislature to court, the state to court, basically a couple of years ago, I guess, and won back their water rights because they tried to do this exact thing to large agricultural productions a few years back. So they're talking about they're trying to do now is circumvent that by having a rule that applies to everybody, so that they're just not focusing on one and trying to sneak it around that way. That's what I got out of that. Again, you got the link in the chat out there if you want to go listen to that on your own later. But now we're going to have a guy who calls in, and he's kind of more of a, hey, it's not that big a deal. You guys just kind of blowing it out of proportion, etc. Let's see what he has to say.
Because of misconstruing a little bit what's going on with the legislative stuff tomorrow.
Okay.
First of all, the committee, these aren't necessarily proposals that have come from the state engineers. Some of them have. This committee has been for like 6 months. They've held meetings all over the state, got input from everybody. And what they're doing tomorrow is they're taking all the ideas they got from every group out there, through them, and deciding which ones they want to forward on to the legislature as potential bill drafts. So there's a lot of different ideas in there, but they're not necessarily all ideas that are going to get moved forward. They're just ideas that different groups have brought in over the last 6 months.
So it sounds like you have some knowledge on this. So the extreme idea, as Corey mentioned, of putting the meters on the wells, that to me is probably the biggest idea in this whole, out of all of them, and I haven't seen all of them. Do you agree with me on that?
Well, yeah, putting the meters on all the wells is definitely an idea that they're talking about. Because there's a lot of wells out there that if you don't have a meter on them, how do you know if whether they're using their duty or not?
Right.
Whether they're exceeding their duty. And a domestic well has a duty of 2.02 acres. If you have a 10-acre parcel and you're watering all kinds of stuff on that 10-acre parcel, I can guarantee you're exceeding 2 acres a year.
Sure, absolutely. So the bottom line, you're in favor of well metering, right?
I'm sorry?
You're in favor of well metering?
I happen to be in favor of well metering, but the other issue that you're bringing up about cutting back to half an acre foot, the proposals they're talking about are not talking about cutting back all the well owners to half an acre foot a year. What they're talking about is in certain areas of the state, there's certain basins in the state where they have completely exceeded the perennial yield of those basins. And we're talking about 2 or 3 times they've over-appropriated these basins. There's only a couple of basins in the state, and they have a certain designation to them. Okay. And what they're talking about is in those basins, a new well, not an existing well, a new well could be cut back, could be limited to half an acre foot a year.
Okay.
And that'll be monitored by the meter, Dave?
That would be monitored by the meter, correct.
So tell me, because this is where I get a little confused. how do they get over? That's some calculation that was wrong in the past, and they allocated too much, and now we just don't have enough water to satisfy that.
It's happened for in a variety of reasons in a variety of basins. The two most over-appropriated basins in Nevada are in Pahrump and outside of Eureka in a place called Diamond Valley. And they over-appropriated those basins for two different reasons. In Pahrump, the problem was that under state law, anybody who has a parcel that can't be served by a water utility service can drill a well. They have a right to drill a domestic well. Mm-hmm. And so what you have is you have a basin where there's only a certain amount of perennial yield, but people had a right to drill wells that could suck up 2 acre deep. When you combine that with...
Oh, man.
Did we lose you?
We lost Dave.
Right.
All right, so they talked to that gentleman who's kind of seeing the necessity of it and everything. He talks about the past history of the 6-month process that this has been ongoing, etc. And we kind of covered that ground the last couple of days to a large extent. Who else we got out in the chat room before we get to the good stuff? Got 11 out there, it looks like, or that's what YouTube's claiming. Sent you a link on the G Plus if you want to jump in. I didn't know you were still rolling around out there. So as long as you guys are hearing that good, I'll continue. So what they get next is a call from a lady who lives in Verdi, which is outside Reno, on the mountainside to the west side, up on the Sierra Nevada points. We'll put her on next. And again, this conversation you can hear in the link to it. It's the John Sanchez Show from the day. It's a radio talk show that's on here locally.
I became aware of this last night, and then I started looking into it today. We're a domestic well owner, and we're located out in Verdi, so obviously we're very concerned about this. So I pulled the notes for that subcommittee meeting tomorrow, and there's a couple of concerns that I have. I know your previous caller that this was just to deal with some issues in what they determine is severely over-appropriated basins and designated CMAs. Well, problem in those specific areas, I think it should be handled there locally.
Absolutely.
I don't like it when they make these broad, sweeping legislative moves because it opens the door for all of us to have to be subject to those rules. What if they determine all of Nevada is a severely over-appropriated basin?
Which they would in drought years. I can't see that they wouldn't.
Good. And then the other thing, and the previous caller brought up, is he said that this is just, reducing it from 2 acre feet to 0.5 is just under new wells. But those of us who have existing wells, if we're ever at a point where we have to drill deeper or re-drill our wells, that constitutes many times a new well.
Right.
And so it does affect us. This is not just new production.
Right.
This is going to affect all of us that are existing domestic well users. So I know that we plan on going down to Carson City tomorrow, and I did want to let everybody know, somebody shared with me on Facebook that on change.org there is a petition that people can sign that is going to the legislators.
Okay.
I don't have more detail than that. I'll try and get it to you.
Wonderful.
But I know it's on change.org. It's a petition that's being signed about this issue.
Hey, Terry, if you have the time tomorrow, because I can't make the meeting, like I said, I didn't know it was...
So that lady calls in, and like she mentioned, the big concern is if they're trying to blanket the whole state with this rule, it only needs to be for targeted areas. And, why can't local places solve their own problems, which is kind of the Nevada way, and they'd like it to keep it that way. So that's good. And she said she'll be there, and there's others. And I was just monitoring the petition she was talking about. And when I checked it earlier, it was at 4,262, and this short to 4,308. So if anybody out there is sharing it, keep doing it. Somebody's signing on. However the word's getting out, that's good. That is good. So the next caller is really the crux, and it's about how's this all going to happen? How's this going to get enforced? And I think me and Tony have been kind of talking up sheriffs or talking down sheriffs, or vice versa, or anybody. And we've all seen the good and bad with the different sheriffs in the last couple of years, and have been concerned with their performances. But this next caller is what we all expect, and I think we'd all be relieved if this was our own sheriff. And if you're following along on the link I sent you, this is going to be at the 28 minute 20-second mark, roughly. So I can get it started.
Oh, boy, you're going to get me started on something. I know. Ryan, thanks for your phone call. I do appreciate it. Let's go to Al McNeil. Al, welcome to the John Sanchez Show, Sheriff.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Doing excellent, sir. How are you?
Great. Hey, I'm just telling him, Lane County. And so I can tell you out here in Lane County, as the old adage says, whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting.
Sheriff, I know I loved you for a reason. Yes, sir. You're right.
and I can tell you, the issue with Smith Valley, what happened down in Smith Valley and the curtailment order. And I'm very familiar with water rights and the issue that's going on there. But from a law enforcement's perspective, I can tell you is that my greatest concern would be the enforcement of this order.
Right.
There is no way to enforce this order, even if it was passed at that time period, because every homeowner would go to gun, and I have a lot of homeowners that would fight over their domestic well, and there is no way I would send my deputy sheriffs out there to try to enforce any one of these orders of trying to meter
Sheriff,
under existing water rights orders.
Sheriff, you bring up an excellent point. And for those that live in the city, and I have the ranch there on Lower Colony, so I 100% agree with what you're talking about. For those that live in the city, as the chief of law enforcement of Lyon County, do me a favor and share with the audience. People would stand up with guns to protect their water. Explain the severity and how important water is when you are, especially a rancher or anybody that relies upon your well.
Well, the majority of my citizens live in rural communities, and rural communities are any parcel greater than 1 acre. Now, that parcel, greater than 1 acre, also has livestock on it: sheep, goats, horses. There's a reason why they moved to the rural setting, is to be able to live a lifestyle that's really independent of government intervention. Almost every one of my homeowners, and I would probably say everyone, owns a firearm. That water is their livelihood.
Sure.
It's their life, and it is the one bit of freedom that they have away from government.
Right.
That government can't control their lives, and they're going to willing to fight for it. And so that's a way of life in rural Nevada, rural Lyon County, and I understand it.
Right, exactly. Back to your point about how would you control. I mean, one thing that came to mind, Sheriff, when you mentioned that, and this may be way out there, but who knows, maybe it's reality. We all wondered how the old days of seeing the meter maid run to your house and check your meter, we all wondered how that would go by the wayside. Well, of course, we now have wireless meter reading. I would imagine, Sheriff, at some point where technology is, they could probably do the same type of thing. I don't know. It's a possibility.
Right. And I think that is a real possibility of how to do that through electronic means of metering. But the point is trying to get that on the well,
exactly.
well casing to
Yes.
begin with.
Right. Come onto my property, right?
Property owners that refuse you to gain access under the property.
Yeah. And folks, when the sheriff is saying that, this is no exaggeration. It is that serious when you're in rural Nevada. and water is gold, right, Sheriff? Yes. Hey, you just brought on a phenomenal new officer. I want to thank you, Mr.
So there was a perspective of a rural county sheriff, which is what we all like to hear, I think, in large part. Basically standing up for citizens saying, I'm not going to help enforce this, and it's ridiculous to try and do it. So that's a good perspective. Now there's 16 other counties in the state, so you can't always go off of one county, but it does give hope, I think. So welcome, Yule. think that's Mule Team in here, right?
Yes, it is. How's it going, H?
How's it going, H?
All right, let me switch over my headset here before I get tons of feedback. Sorry. Technically challenged tonight.
Oh, it's all good, man. Check. Can you hear me now?
All right, now we're good. We're good. Just didn't want it to feed back through the mic if it came through the speakers. So, all right. So, Mule jumped in here since everybody else is gone. Good. Well, you see what's going on. It's always something, right?
It really is. And actually, I was talking about this a little bit about this last night. So I want you to finish your thoughts because I have a few on what you guys are going through.
Oh, on your podcast, yeah. I think I tried to listen because it's on Blog Talk Radio, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think I listened to the beginning of one time and I got sidetracked. So, I mean, I try to support, but I just haven't got around to it.
No, it's all good, man.
Yeah, so just finishing up on what the sheriff was commenting there about rural Nevada, which is what the majority of Nevada is. I mean, not the majority of people, but the majority of the space. And so that's the reality on the ground is people are going to fight for what is their right.
Well, it's a perceived right.
Oh no, it's recognized as the right. Once that's the way it's written into the law and the Constitution, which is what gives people, and which is the big thing about it, which was it's kind of like what I said in my video, and I think somewhere else we had a chat the other day. The biggest problem I have with it is you're taking the right from somebody to give it to somebody else because that's all they're going to do is try to redirect the water to this new development, new construction, business, whatever. It's not like they're limiting everybody because there's no water. No, they're going to still have development going on, and they're just going to limit everybody to a half acre or whatever as it develops onward. Because Pahrum's not stopping building permits. If Pahrump would just limit their building permits and maybe limit that way, this wouldn't be an issue. But they're not doing that.
And they're not going to because, they want the tax base.
Well, and this goes into the bigger issue, which maybe get brought up tomorrow, may not. It's the money, stupid. If it wasn't for the inflationary policy of the Federal Reserve, you wouldn't have to worry about getting every little cent and scrounge of taxes and increasing taxes year over year because you can't keep up with inflation. That's it. All comes back to that almost always. Well,
as you said, everything comes back to money.
But it wouldn't be if it wasn't inflationary money. It wouldn't necessarily more money. That's I understood. But the pressure on counties to keep up is because of the inflationary policy.
Yeah,
that's kind of what it's going at.
For sure.
So yeah, that's we'll see if that gets around to making that point tomorrow. I don't know. It might just stick to, hey, quit taking people's rights and give them to somebody else. But expect a big crowd tomorrow. I would expect the way things are hearing, considering the feedback that came from the day.
Now that's the meeting in Carson City, right, with the satellite in Vegas?
Yeah. Yep, it's what we shared the other day on the video. So you can – it's basically 2 in-person meetings. And like I said in the video the other day, the Las Vegas location, legislators there than the northern location because it's out of session. And when they're out of session, the majority of the population, majority of the representatives are in Las Vegas, so that's where we're going to congregate for the meeting.
Right, and the majority of the population is in southern Nevada rather than northern Nevada. So
right.
It should be easier for people coming from places like Pahrump and Henderson to head up that way rather than head all the way up to Carson City.
Oh, for sure. They would. Yeah, they would for sure.
So
let me go out in the chat room real quick to see what we got out there. I think we got showing 13 viewers. G Mangoes, what's up? Home Runner, good, nice to meet you on the YouTube or G Plus at least. I don't think I've ever seen you around, so welcome. And actions speak louder than words. That's true. I mean, actions always speak louder than words. Times come. Partisan Guerrilla, yeah. Agenda 21 is always suspect, or Agenda 2030 or whatever the new agenda is called. Somebody's got their hand in it some way, and it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody's in bed with the agenda, but just a training and all the state engineer and his training on how water resources work are tied into Agenda 21. It's not like he necessarily is like indoctrinated in it like personally, but when he went to his training and his schooling, it's all infiltrated in there, and that's how it comes out the other end. That's the big thing people don't understand about some of that stuff is it's all part of it's like socialism and taxes and everything else. It's all part of the education system. How people's mindsets work. Mindset.
That's definitely for sure. That's why we're some of the most dangerous people on the planet. Those of us educated before, 70s and 80s, you know, if you went through your schooling then or before, you know, you're kind of dangerous because you were taught in general to think for yourself and not follow just rote. You're not supposed to accept every fact as just being a fact until you check it. At least that's the way I was brought up.
Right.
Our age is the same way, you know. You don't, but these days they accept for fact whatever comes across their feed at any given time.
Yeah, or any meme, like somebody who had there was a meme that said, I think it was Resist the Tyranny shared it the other day. It's like, you're going to share this and pass this on because it validates one of your belief systems, even though you don't know or whatever, you know, just basically saying just because it's on the internet. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. And it is, you know, and I think a lot of people, I know for me, I've had to take a step back from a lot of that kind of stuff and I still do some, but I've had to take a giant step back from it because the rhetoric is really getting crazy out there these days to where, I mean, you know, I don't know. It's just getting, we're that precipice is there. We've been saying it for years, but man, now you look back on, you know, 2012 and go, well, it wasn't that bad, was it? You know?
Yeah, then, well, it's just sped up. And let me go through the chat room real quick to finish that up before we continue. Saint the Sappers out there, how you doing? No problem, home runners. Shout outs for all people whenever we get the chance. Swinnod. I don't know. Well, you have Las Vegas heating up the water. Well, that's partially true in certain parts of the state. I know the big issue coming up that's been dealing with is they're running a pipeline out of Lincoln County into Las Vegas. I don't know where that stands, but I know last year there was one holdout rancher. I saw a couple articles on that Winging It Tracy shared. Check out, also just a reminder, everybody out there, at the bottom of the chat is links to the radio program we just listened to and got some comments off of, and the petition for the well owners. Inside out of state, I'm not sure. I think it's primarily for inside Nevada. And so go check the links at the bottom. So D1Zer and Winging It Tracy. I don't know if he's still out there, but he's there at the beginning, and that catches us up. So did I say G Mangoes? And the People's Tavern is out there. I wonder who that is. I know Tony's watching. He doesn't have internet. Yeah, it's Tony. Doesn't have his internet hooked up. He's out. So, were you going into something next, Mule?
Oh, no, man. I'm here to support you. I haven't talked to you in a while. I mean, I did have kind of a thing because I wanted to apologize to you in person. I'm not going to do that to fucking Yankee. But what? I did want to I wanted to apologize to you in person over dogging you over continuing your libertarian stance and acting like a everything that I used to hate. You know, I acted like for a while trying to push the Trump train along, you know, and I came to the conclusion after thinking about it for quite a while is I was acting like an asshole, like everything I used to hate. I'm still on the Trump train, and I still think Trump's our best bet to keep this ship of state afloat, but I have no right to bag on people if they're going to vote their conscience. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah. I mean, I guess I was egging you on, kind of. It wasn't like it
Oh, we
wasn't a
both egged each
two-way
other on, but
two-way conversation. It wasn't like it was just a one-way. I never said anything about the libertarian. I didn't say anything about Johnson or anything. I don't know who was pushing that, but
no. But just the whole point is, I mean, I got really pissed off at all these people with the anybody but Trump, just like, the old anybody but Ron Paul crap and everything. But, one of those people, and I had to catch myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, Solar Savage, I don't know what's up with the side chat. It's just the way I'm technically challenged and can't open the chat properly. I tried it 2 different ways, and this is what it came out with. So sorry about that.
Hey, don't
Bottom
complain,
chat sucks.
HB.
We all know.
And this is where everybody thinks the bottom chat sucks. It doesn't, right?
Well,
I wish I could go back.
Comments carry over after it's saved, which is good.
Yeah,
but not being able to
it's
follow.
just they got to refresh, and they have to. Yeah, well, to get new comments, you really have to refresh or keep going back and forth between top comments and new comments. So yeah, I understand the pain in the ass there, but like all the links that you put in that people can now follow, and the fact that you'll be able to go back after this is loaded up into a video and be able to really read what people had to say at the time. That's a big plus. I miss being able to do that.
Sure. Yeah. I still wish, I guess, saying earlier that the whole chat thing is getting changed to what's called YouTube Live. So they're going to merge the 2 processes, and Google Hangouts goes away. And yeah, so they're gonna Google us, screw us again, because we know how it happens every time Google's changed something in G+ or in YouTube. We've all suffered.
That's why I switched over. I ended up joining John's network to do the Blog Talk Radio thing, right? Because I use this basically for just private stuff any longer. The Google Hangouts, those are for the private chats, to talk to everybody across the country. But for the live chats anymore, I switched over to Blog Talk, because who knows what YouTube and Google are going to do next.
Right. Yeah, we'll see what comes out the other end, but I guess next month we'll find out. So just a warning for everybody out there that may start chats and stuff. There might be a big upheaval in the force coming up.
Yeah, no doubt. How are the boys how are the old Dragon crew, or I guess the new Dragoon crew, or the new People's?
Oh, right. Yeah, Tony started another chat, and I think G's in on it sometimes, but we were on it last night for a little while. It's a Wednesday night thing primarily, I think.
Right.
But
well, good. As long as people are still getting the word out.
Some people, it's just like everything. It's like the Dragon was. New people come in, old people fall away.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's where, we're at these days. It's just so easy to get frustrated and just throw your hands up in the air and walk away, But I'm still of the mind that we have to use our voices until we use our voices, then use our ballots, and then hopefully never have to use our bullets,
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I don't know if yeah, you know how that goes.
I do. And, but that's why I put it that way, because guess what? We're coming up to election season. So hopefully, unless the whole world goes crazy before November, which is always possible, right? This is actually kind of a safe time, because everybody's waiting on bated breath for the election to happen, you know?
And that's one thing we're talking about with this whole water thing is like, it seems like everybody's distracted by that, and like none of the media stuff came out until today really on this whole thing. It's like you can blame it on the election, like Hillary was in Reno today, so like the whole lead up and everything else. So yeah, I don't know.
And it
sounds like an excuse.
But it's not, right? It's the honest. It's truly what happens, because the government wants the water, right? So let the propaganda machine, which we call the media, know that, make sure you focus on Hillary. That's what matters more than this water thing, right? So rather than giving people enough energy and understanding and lead time to be able to be effective, they distract everybody till the last minute, knowing that the only way they can say they're really news and put out the news is to say something 5 minutes before it happens.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So there's no way in hell anybody's going to be able to show up and protest and do anything that they can effectively do as a citizen before the ballot, before the bullet, but they're going to hinder it until that last second. And then they'll go, oh, but we told you 5 minutes before you had time,
Yeah. Right.
You're seeing that a lot lately, Yeah.
And I was talking to Tony the other day, and one thing it seemed like I'd noticed is the summer was real calm. There wasn't, you had the riots and the election stuff was just monotonous at a certain point. And now all of a sudden like in the last 2 weeks, it seems like things are starting to speed up again. There's things hitting the radar a lot faster. And I was noticing, it seemed like on YouTube, a lot of the, not the big time channels, but the prep inside, people were starting to get really pointed on their messaging, like, there is a time to prepare and there's a time to be ready, and like Viking preparedness has really been on
the season's
point.
Ending.
And it was like boom, like, and he hadn't put out like a number of videos before that, and all of a sudden boom, and now he's put out like one every day lately.
But he's not the only one.
Exactly. That's transferred over to other people, and Planet Rigo, and it's like, I was telling Tony and G, it's like everybody's clearing their conscience just to say, we did what we could and we told you what we could. We didn't really hold anything back. It's not like we didn't warn you.
And that's been my philosophy since the beginning, though. So that's exactly my point when I say we're using our words, we're using our voices, right, before we use our ballots, before we use our bullets, right? So that we've been doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Maybe not as pointedly as some of them, or as big of an audience as some of them, but we've been for a long time trying to prepare people and clear our own consciences, right? I can't tell you how many times I've had to tell people, look, I'm telling you this so that if I ever have to shoot you in the face, I'm okay with it.
All right.
Yeah,
you like to use that reference a lot.
Well, I do. Why? Because I want the shock value of it for you to understand that no matter the guy you met before shit hit the fan, world without law, whatever, right? Nuclear, EMP. I'm going to be a totally different person on the other side of that. The man that's going to give you a glass of water or his extra sandwich in his lunch bucket isn't going to be there anymore.
Right. Yeah. Straight up.
And I think that Pastor Joe and a few of the others, a lot of pastors are out there letting people know, look, it's time to have everything in order because nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone, but definitely after November. I mean, who the hell knows what's going to happen? The Chinese, half the world hates, just like half the country hates Trump, and half the world, and just like half the country hates Hillary. And who does the rest of the world perceive as being weaker? I believe the world's worried about Trump because they perceive him as a strong man. And I think they perceive Hillary, if she's going to go and do what she's said so far, but who the fuck believes any word out of her mouth, that she's going to continue Obama's foreign policy, is they perceive that as weak. That's why the Russians are lining up all over the place. That's why the Chinese are lining up all over the place. Ready to start some shit.
Yeah. Is it I don't know if it's a perception of weakness or just trying to get their advantage in now, or it's like, and there's been all these articles this week too about Germany, Switzerland, Czechoslovakia, all telling their people to have food stored up. And all these articles came out this week. It's like, seriously? Where did what started this? This came. I was like, oh man, yeah, it's. it's either a distraction tactic or it's legit. It's one or the other.
Well, I mean, any threat you have to take is legit, right? You can't blow things off until you know for sure, right? And in my perception on this, what's going on, especially in Europe, is the Russians understand that Trump would be a strong man, right? Trump's, for all his rhetoric, he's going to act the tough guy, and that's the tough guy New Yorker, which has gotten him put his dick in a grinder quite a few times here, but. If they have to deal with him, they want to deal from a position of strength, right? That's why they're ratcheting up the Cold War routine. And if I believe, and this is the way I see it, if they see Hillary get in, if we kowtow to that social justice warrior side of America, they're going to roll over fucking Europe like it's the old days. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's still warm water ports the Russians need. There's still pipelines to oil shit they need. They're going to roll over. And the Turks are right there going, look, we're playing both sides of this. We got the Americans and their nukes surrounded, right? And we're making nice with you after killing a few of you to show the rest of the world where we can be just as assholey. But that brought you to the table, so now we can be best buds. And trust me, you're going to get a free road to the Middle East if you need it.
Well, it's like Planet Rigo said the other day, too. The Russians aren't beyond a little sacrifice to secure their position. They'll sacrifice some people, some soldiers. That's not a problem in their mindset. And Americans can't fathom that. Americans are like, we kill the first 10,000, they'll back down. No, they might not. Probably won't.
Let's put it this way: the Russians would cut off if the Russians were Americans, right? So to put America as the Russian attitude, they would cut off Florida and nuke that fucker if that got their agenda over.
Now I'm talking about sacrificing their own people.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. No. Okay, so think of Stalingrad. Think of, I can go down the list, right? Moscow bombed forever, all across the Ukraine. I mean, when they retreated from the Nazis, their retreat was not retreat. Their retreat was devastation all the way to Moscow. They were not doing it. They were, fuck you. We're killing everybody, even our own people, our own livestock, our own land. We don't give a shit. We're torching the earth to leave nothing for the conqueror.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly what they did.
And they've never changed that mindset. We stayed in Iraq and we stayed in Vietnam for financial reasons, straight capitalism, right? The Russians stayed in Afghanistan by sheer assholeness, right? They were straight up right there. We're not letting this little people beat us until they finally did, right? They weren't going to let it happen, short of a nuke, And that's why they stayed there 10 years. They lost money the whole time. But when we go to war, our corporations make money. In Soviet Russia, when they went to war, everybody lost money.
Right. And people and everything else.
Yes. And it took them 10 years to figure that shit out because they didn't give a fuck. Why? Because we were here and then you spit in our face? Fuck you. Even Poland didn't do that. What the fuck are you doing, little Afghanistan? Yeah. Just got to know some Russians to understand that's as societal as freedom-loving Americans used to be, before our comfort zones got way too big, but that
our
mindset,
comfort zone?
Yeah, well, the Americans, we love freedom, right? But our comfort zones got so big that now we have safe spaces. We have trigger words. We went from. Go ahead. Sorry.
Just speaking of being triggered. What happened on the University of Texas at Austin?
Oh, the cock stuff, the cocks not glocks.
Now, just you talk about no sense of dignity, no sense of respect. I mean, just lost all total.
Well, the funny thing is that this is what tells you
something like that.
But it's funny. Think of high schoolers and college age people, right? So kids, right? Because they're still fucking kids. I don't care what they want to say, right? One day they're gonna have to see, their kids are gonna get to see them holding a giant fucking black dildo, right? Saying "cocks not glocks," and shirts that say things that I don't even want to repeat on here. And me, I got a mouth on me, and it's like
Right.
that picture. Your kid's gonna see that someday. You're gonna have a kid someday if the world doesn't explode, if just you survive, you're gonna have a kid.
There is no shame anymore. You have to be accepted for who you are. You can't be shamed in anything anymore.
Well, if that's true, we're gonna get rolled over by the fucking Muslims. It's not even funny, But I think it's coming back. I think the pendulum's swinging back. I think it's gone that far to where you're seeing, 20-year-old blonde chicks with Texas accents with a fucking 4-foot black dick that is bigger than them walking around campus,
Right.
which just had me funny. It had me laughing because, what? Who do you think you really triggered with waving around those giant dildos? You just made every dude on that fucking campus, they went into straight fantasy mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they were
yes.
locking that stuff up they were locking those images up for the spank bank forever.
Oh man.
I just had to laugh, man, because what were they really going to do? Were we going to smack somebody with a giant dildo if they had a gun on their side heading to school? No, you weren't going to do that.
Total like how? What argument are you trying to make? Yeah, is that you really going to fight back? Seriously?
Their argument is that they're afraid, right? And I do want to say something positive for something in my state happened today. University of Chicago put out a letter to all their incoming freshmen not to expect safe spaces or to come to them bitching about trigger words. You're here to learn. You're here to experience new experiences. Get the fuck over yourselves. My vernacular.
I saw that. That was good. That's good. I was surprised too. Chicago. Wow, what are the odds?
Actually, when you go to their universities, they're pretty conservative. Remember the Manhattan Project started here. So when they talk STEM in Chicago universities in Michigan State and all the places right there on the water, they ain't fucking around.
Yeah.
But and I think this pendulum's going to swing back and conservatism is going to start coming back. You're starting to see trickles of it with a lot of these, so even the social justice warriors, because they find out that they'll say something wrong too. I mean, take the Young Turks people, right? So the chick who talked shit to Alex Jones and called him a fat fuck, right? And she's had to back away from that so damn fast because everybody was like, well, you've talked out so much about fat shaming that, now you went straight to that in a moment of heated anger. In a moment of anger, you went to that. That was your first place you went.
Yeah.
So people are getting called out on all that crap. It's not to where we would like it yet, but I think the pendulum's hit its peak and is going to start swinging back down now. And I really think a Trump election is going to be very similar to the Reagan election if it happens, right? To where remember that moral majority. It went from the hippy dippy, coke snorting, Studio 54 shit with almost getting the weed legalized and and then conservatism swung back hard with Reagan. Now Reagan wasn't what people used to then consider a true conservative, but the pendulum swung back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, did you happen to catch Trump's speech today?
No, I've been actually a little busy today, but
he's backtracking on a lot of the things he said. He basically said we're going to negotiate with illegals.
I heard
he said we're going to negotiate. And we're going to.
I haven't heard the thing yet, but I've heard a bunch of analysis. Right, people cutting hairs, and from the way I've been able to gather just from the analysis, I have to hear it for myself. but is all he's doing is explaining his position, right? He comes out and talks like me. I'm a New Yorker, right? I got that New York attitude. Every debate's a fight, right? And every fight's a street fight. Come out, and I have the idea in my head, and the way I say it doesn't always come out the way it really is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So I think he's just clarifying.
Build a wall and throw everybody out.
And what, he's not willing to build a wall and throw people out yet?
Well, he said he wasn't going to throw them out. He said we'll negotiate. We'll talk to people. Yeah, it's just it's what I expected, but
well, it's what any. Okay, he sounds like he's learning how to play politics,
which you knew he was going to do anyway.
Which
have a moral core. He doesn't have a moral core. He doesn't have his principles. You know, he doesn't have a constitutional principle. You know,
now he might not have a
ethos.
Constitutional. To say he doesn't have a moral core, I'd have to argue.
Well, he's got something. He's got some morals of some sort, I'm sure.
There's somewhere, because when you look at his successful children, you can say through two different women, right? That's some decent parenting, right? And we all know too many kids are screwed up by parents that weren't around. You can tell he was at least around, right? So I look to that kind of stuff to know I know he has a moral core, right? Now, is he got to play political games? He's running for fucking president. And when he wasn't playing political games, all he got was shit on by everybody. So somebody's finally come in to play with him. And so he finally, look, this guy took people who were used to building buildings and said, let's go make me president. And along the way, he's had to let go of a lot of staff and get real political staff in, because he stepped right up to the big show. There was no half stepping with this guy. He went right to the big show. All the Republicans. So, to me, I think he's a stopgap for now, right? I think he's maybe something that can help us get us back on our feet. And if some of the things he says, look, I don't give a shit what you do with the illegal aliens. We're fucked anyway. How are you going to get 20 million people out of the country? How are you going to round them up and kick them out?
No, yeah, right.
So he's clarifying that he's not going to round everybody up and kick them the fuck out. I mean, he went into the black neighborhoods and said, hey, look, he's being honest. What are the Democrats doing for you people? You're still here in the ghetto of the plantation ghetto of each major city. And all these cities are run by Dems. So at least give me a shot. See if I can make your life better after 4 years. If I can't, throw me out. Well, I think Trump can be the stopgap. Or he's going to be the Joker and just speed it up. But shit that I already believe is going to happen.
It's getting sped up regardless.
Right. But, look, even the people that we were talking about, every single one of them knows that if Hillary gets elected, we're boned. She's going to get to put people in SCOTUS. One right away. There's an empty seat that's not going to get filled now. He hasn't even put anybody else up. He just washed his hands of it. Obama was not fighting shit. Right? He washed his hands. He said enough's enough, and he said I'm not even going to throw somebody up for a nomination.
All right. Well, I was going to do about an hour. I'm over my hour.
All right, bud. Well, hey, time. I saw you.
You got your 2-minute elevator speech in for Trump, though. That was good.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. My wife just got home too, so thanks for sending me a link. Anytime.
Yeah, I wish we could get some other people in. I wanted to get some Nevada people in, talk more about the water, but we had a good rundown on that.
I wish you would. I'd like to hear a lot of people's thoughts on that, man, because they're basically stealing from you. You the people of Nevada.
It's a property right. Right.
Right, it's a human right. But they're already trying to monetize water, especially on the West Coast, because you're such a lack of it. Well,
we keep importing so many people deliberately.
Well, it's too bad they couldn't figure out a way to take them Louisiana floods and send them up to,
pipe that over, right?
Yeah.
Pipe it up the Colorado River instead of down. Yeah,
it would help everybody.
Anybody in the chat just joined us. We're kind of winding down, wrapping it up. But if you're looking for any of the links or anything we talked about with the Nevada water situation, we updated some of the news reports. And down at the bottom of the comments, if you sort through probably newest first or maybe even the choice top comments.
Well, hey,
top
bud,
comments.
my wife's waving at me. I got to go.
I'll
I'll talk to you.
Have a good night. Everybody, so we're not shutting down, just so everybody don't leave yet. But if you want to look at any of that information we provided, we gave a link for the radio show we listened to, Reno Today on Talk Radio KKOH. They had some good callers. What they talked about, Sheriff called in and talked about the non-enforcement aspect of going out there on people's wells and trying to restrict their water access. People are going to go to guns, which was some interesting commentary from them. And then it's got the last thing, the petition that's put out by the Nevada Domestic Wells and Water. It's on change.org, and the link is in the chat as well. Go check that out. It's already gained, let me refresh it, it's over 50 people since we've been on here. So it was at 4,260 something when we started this chat. It's now up to 4,328. 672 requested to reach their goal of 5,000 concerning domestic wells and protecting them in response to this proposal, basically by a state engineer to basically have any authority to go restrict whatever he wants if he says so, which is what he's saying. If I say there's a hazardous or a at-risk basin in the state, I'll go shut down your well. That's a lot of power to put in one man with no review. And they didn't propose any review process. They didn't propose any trigger points. Like what's the acre feet output required or fill or recharge required annually. There's a lot of missing information in there to just blanket say, go forth, secure wells. What's got a lot of people concerned, I think. There's not much check and balance on this proposal. There is a counter proposal in the legislature it's in there. If you go to the legislative website where this agenda for tomorrow's meeting is posted, it has a counter proposal which basically says take the state engineer's authority away to secure wells. So that's good. At least there's a counterbalance as well. The link for that. I can share that in the external as well, and you can go check out the agenda for tomorrow, whether or not you're going to participate or not, or attend. You can watch it online, and that link will be in the agenda or on the legislature webpage. Where was I at last night? It's might take me a minute to go back in my history and find this. It might just take me too long. Dadgum, where'd it go? Other video. I did have it on a video that I made the other day. You can also go check that out on my page. The other video we did talking about this subject. And I'm taking a while, I know. Sorry about that. Legislative agenda. There we go. So there you go in the external agenda for the meeting tomorrow, and you can be north or south. Again, the Grant Sawyer building in Las Vegas, you are likely to see more legislators there if you're in Nevada and you want to get FaceTime. If anybody, 99% chance you're going to have 5 or 6 of them there and maybe 1 or 2, 3 up here in Carson City because it is an out-of-session meeting. And I mean, basically the capital shifting to Vegas without being officially shifted to Vegas. Really, with all the different legislative buildings and meeting buildings they built in Vegas for the convenience of the legislature and the governors and everybody else. So you'll see that link in there, Legislative Commission Subcommittee on Study of Water, to study water. 401 South Carson Street in Carson City, or the Grant Sawyer Building, room 4401555 East Washington Avenue, Las Vegas. On that legislative agenda notice too, you'll see on the left-hand side a series of documents and exhibits that they'll be going through tomorrow. Good reading. There's private well owners, state engineer recommendations, various other organizations. The Nature Conservancy has their 2 cents to say, etc. There are multiple things on the agenda, so be patient. It probably will be the second item on the agenda, I'm suspecting. Or, I mean, they can reorder the agenda, so what they might do is push through the other 2 items and then get to the well thing last. They might. It's cloud seeding and mining dewatering that are on the agenda, along with the domestic wells. So they might basin management as well. So they might. I don't think they can bundle them necessarily because they're kind of separate subjects, even though they're all about water. But the front talk about mine dewatering quickly, talk about basin management, talk about cloud seeding. Okay, move on. Now domestic use of wells will go last. Just to get everybody that came there for the other ones that they expect to go quickly. Depends on what they expect. They do that on occasion, so be prepared and be patient. It's worth getting your 10 cents in or knowing that you've made a presence to be heard on the issue, or to at least support the issue. There, so you have those links. Thank everybody for coming out. Hope everybody something out chat. It definitely doesn't end in Nevada. I think we've said it enough times. If they're doing it here, they're going to come bring it to your place next. It's not going to end. They're just going to keep trying and pushing to get what they want, and that's power and control ultimately, right? So with that being said, I think we're going to sign off. In the chat room, Partisan Gorilla hanging in the whole time. Winging it, Tracy hanging in to the end. Tactical Tony's out there. Frank, how you doing? All-star commenters and no side chat. Sorry about that. Again, it went back to the beginning. My technical faux pas on not understanding to start this thing, and I just picked the wrong one. So sorry I had to bottom chat, but you will be able to see all the comments after. So that's one benefit. Midwest Misfit, good to see you. Yeah, we know, no side chat. Man, you guys are more worried about no side chat than you are about the issue, I think. I think thanks for seeing y'all. See you all out there. We might do a footage tomorrow evening. I don't think we'll do a live broadcast like we have done at other events. It'll probably just be record some of the stuff going on and put it together in a video tomorrow night, kind of give an update on what happened, or what our perspective was on what was presented and what was finally resolved. Because they do have to come to some, that's what they have to say. Either we're going to address this next subcommittee meeting, or we're going to have future meetings, or we're going to shelve it or table it. There has to be some action on these items. So something's going to happen one way or the other. We'll know more for sure tomorrow. So thanks again, YouTube. Y'all be safe out there. Live free.